Hey guys, Tom Barton from TomBartonSports.com here. We're going to talk about Juan Soto because why not? The whole world is talking about Juan Soto. It's been a little while since I've done one of these videos. I took a little time off and now it's the All-Star break. But Juan Soto is in the news and we've got to get into this. Everybody, you want to check me out? It's TomBartonSports.com, Tom Barton Sports over on Twitter. If you want to get in touch with me, it's TomBartonSports@gmail.com. So let's get into it. Look, before we even dive into my differing opinion about Juan Soto, and I do have a differing opinion about Juan Soto. Before we dive into that, let me just say it's unfair to get down on him for turning down $440 million. You know, my wife came to me and she said, "Oh man, I can't believe you turned down $440 million. That's crazy." Well, yes and no. First, let's go through the logistics of it. Yes, $440 million blows your mind to even think about, but it was a 15-year deal, which means Juan Soto would have been making a little more than $29 million per year. That is not in the top 20 of paid players right now. Max Scherzer, for example, is making $43.3. So, yes, the $440 million is just a crazy number to think about, but when you're talking about average salary annually, he's already making like 17. It's not that big of a bump up, and you're talking about 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. Is that really going to be his market value? Now, you will have the people that say nobody deserves to get paid that. I get it. I agree. But I also don't think an actor deserves $20 million for a movie. This is the world we live in. So you can't blame Juan Soto for that. All of a sudden, you have the conversation. Well, Juan Soto had to fly commercial to get to Los Angeles because Washington didn't want to pay for him. Well, you know what? The guy is making a bunch of $1 million. He didn't have to fly commercial. That was his choice. I don't feel bad for him there. So I agree with Juan Soto in one case. Don't feel bad for him in the other case. Let's get into the real crux of why we're doing this video, though. What about Juan Soto? Where will he go? Where can he land up? There's a number of teams. I mean, everybody's going to check in on Juan Soto, but there's only a number of teams, about 5 or 6 teams in baseball that might pay that salary and pay the prospects. I'm here to tell you now, look, I'm wearing a Cardinals jersey because the Cardinals are one of the front runners. The New York Mets are right there. The Dodgers, obviously. Obviously, you look at the San Francisco Giants. The New York Yankees have checked in. Houston has checked in. There are a number of teams. I heard that the Cubs had checked in. There are a number of teams that are going to go down this route. And they're going to kind of check in. But as you start to have the conversation, do you have the prospects? Will you have the long-term deal? Will you be able to sign him? And what does it do to impact the rest of your team? Look, when you look at some of the teams that are involved here, the simple fact is they're not going to have the package to be able to kind of lure him away. I think that the New York Mets make the most sense. And they are the betting favorite, right? Everybody thinks that the Mets make the most sense. Uncle Stevie's going to go in. He's going to, throw money all over the place. And they do need a face of their franchise. They need a face of their franchise because Francisco Lindor just isn't it, even though they want to push him to be that. He's not the same player he once was. Very good player. Didn't even make the All-Star team. Not the same player. Juan Soto would be the face of the franchise, and he fits perfectly in New York. He fits perfectly in Citi Field. Everything works out. And, oh, by the way, you may lose DeGrom, and Juan Soto comes in. Well, you're not going to have to deal with the Scherzer giant contract for any more than a couple of years anyway. So there are financial situations. It's the Steve Cohen thing. I think the Mets make a lot of sense. But you have to ask yourself, are the Washington Nationals going to go out there and trade him within the division? Plus, the New York Mets, they have Alvarez, they have Brett Baty. They have a couple of nice prospects, but their prospects are not overwhelming, and it's a situation where they want Major League ready players or Major League players. The New York Mets don't have a lot of that. I think that they make the most sense. They should be the betting favorite. I think that they fall short here. They're one of those teams I've been back and forth about, but the more I look at the prospect packages, I don't see it happening. You go down the list, you go to Atlanta, I don't think that they're going to get too involved. Philadelphia certainly doesn't have the prospects to do it. They might have the money to do it, but then are you going to pay Bryce Harper and Juan Soto for the next, decade, about $1 billion? Not to mention, Real Muto's got a huge contract, and Castellanos and everybody else that you have on that team. It starts to get, you're going to have to pay Nola and Wheeler. It starts to get into a position I don't think Philly's going to be involved. Certainly not Miami and obviously Washington. Then you go to the Central, and Pittsburgh, he's more expensive for a year than their entire salary. So it's not going to be Pittsburgh. It's not going to be Cincinnati, who are in the sell now mode. It's not going to be Milwaukee, who just doesn't have the money. The Cubs keep being mentioned, but I look at the Cubs and I go, okay, James Triantos, yeah, he's a nice prospect. They don't have the prospects, and I'm not sure that they're going to go out and kind of pay the one guy when they just let all of these players walk. They're far away from contending. They're at least sorry, Chicago, at least 2-3 years away from even attempting to make a contention. So I don't like that. St. Louis does make sense. St. Louis has been known to throw big money contracts out there. They've been known to pay guys, but they're already invested in Arenado and Goldschmidt. So it makes me scratch my head. Now, you will lose Wainwright probably by the end of the year. He hasn't announced it. You're going to lose Molina, so you lose some of that money there. But is that really what they need? Look, Jack Flaherty's injured. Wainwright's going to be gone. They have a lot of injuries to the pitching staff. I think they need to concentrate on pitching as opposed to Juan Soto, although he looks really good in the lineup with Arenado and Goldschmidt. Going down the trough, look, everybody wants to mention the Dodgers, the Dodgers, the Dodgers. They were chanting at the All-Star game about the Dodgers and Juan Soto. It makes a lot of sense. The Dodgers certainly have the prospects, and they certainly have the bankroll. But when you look at the Los Angeles Dodgers, does he really overly fit? Because you're going to have to pay Trey Turner at the end of the year. You're still going to have to pay Kershaw again. There's got to be some kind of limit to what the Dodgers spend. That keeps me a little hesitation mode. It's not going to be Colorado. We know that. So that leaves, it's not going to be Arizona. So that leaves San Francisco and San Diego. San Francisco's an interesting team, and I keep hearing that they're getting a groundswell of people in the business believe that they're going to make that offer. They can absolutely afford him. Don't think that's San Francisco kind of portrays themselves as a lower team. No. They absolutely can afford him. They absolutely need him, and they do have the prospects. Luciano is good. Ramos is good. They have a couple of really good prospects. But again, you're talking about 2 prospects, maybe 3. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but I think that it might be. I think San Francisco makes a lot of sense. San Diego, another team, massive prospects. They could give them 4 or 5 prospects, and it's not really going to impact San Diego. And look at their lineup. There was a point when Tatis was out. There was a point during the season where you had Kim batting about 250, Cronenworth batting about 230, in the middle of their lineup, guys. They need some offense. They need immediate offense. Soto does that. But they just signed Fernando Tatis to a 14-year deal. Do you think that they want 29 years locked up between these two? I mean, for a fan, you go, oh, cool. We got the 1-2 duo for, the decade and a half that we're going to have in front of us. But I don't think that a team financially wants to do that. Go to the American League. You look at Seattle. Seattle is one of those players that I think there are people throwing their name just because they can afford him. I don't think that Seattle's a real player, but they do have the prospects. I mean, you want to throw out there a Marte, a Kalanick, you can do that. They have the prospects. I don't believe in them. Certainly not Oakland. The Angels won't do it because they even have to sign Ohtani. The Angels are not going to do it. Houston, I don't buy into the Houston thing yet. It's just not their MO. It's not what Houston goes out there and does. And the Rangers have checked in here and there, but they just spent a massive amount of money on Seager and Semien, which are not really looking like they're working out right now. Go to the Central, and you go, not the Royals, not Detroit, no way, Cleveland, you're not Minnesota. I'm sorry, they just don't have the money to do it. And the White Sox could be intriguing, but I think the White Sox understand, we are getting guys back. Eloy Jimenez is coming back. Lance Lynn just came back, even though he doesn't look too good. I don't think the White Sox are a real contender. So now you go to the American League East, and you go, Baltimore makes a little. I'm telling you, Baltimore could be a sleeper here. I don't think they do it because they're in the part of their rebuild. They're an interesting team because they certainly have the money. They can absolutely steal him. They can afford him with a prospect. Baltimore makes an interesting case, but they won't do it. The Rays won't do it for sure. Toronto keeps being brought up, and I don't get the Toronto thing. They certainly don't need a bat. Now, where are they getting all this money? Toronto doesn't make any sense to me. Look, write in the comment section if you disagree about Toronto. I don't buy into it. That leaves Boston and the Yankees. And doesn't it always seem to leave Boston and the Yankees? Boston's in a weird position because I'm hearing that they may not re-sign Devers. They may not re-sign Xander Bogaerts. All right, well, Chris Sale just got hurt. They're probably pitching needed right now more than Juan Soto. And then you go to the New York Yankees. Look, I'm a Yankee fan, so this one, it really bothers me that the Yankees are pursuing Soto just because of the impact. Look, I like Juan Soto, but here we go. This is my differing opinion. He's not worth the prospects and the years and the cost. With the New York Yankees, basically, if you bring Juan Soto on and you pay him $540 million, which is basically what people are assuming, for 15 years, well, you're telling Aaron Judge goodbye. I would rather have Aaron Judge over the next 3 years, the face of the franchise, than Juan Soto over the next 3 years. Now you're saying, well, Tom, in 10 years or not, you're right. In 10 years, he will be the better player. 15 years, Aaron Judge will be out of the league. You're right. But is it in need right now? Is it in need to disrupt a team with 60 some odd wins, first place, Aaron Judge an MVP? Why are you disrupting this? And overall, look, Juan Soto is a great player, but is he worth 15 years? Is he worth $550 million? Is he worth losing Aaron Judge? And oh, by the way, they're going to ask for a slew of prospects. And I know we have Volpe and Peraza and Wells and Waldichuk and Sweeney. You could go down the list of the prospects that the New York Yankees have available. So they certainly have the prospects. But what have we seen in Hal Steinbrenner to go out there and say, oh, he's going to spend that much money? What we've seen is that if he does go out there and spend that much money, Aaron Judge is gone. Call me a sentimentalist or whatever you want, because Aaron Judge might be gone anyway, but call me whatever you want. I don't disrupt this team that might win the World Series now in the hopes that maybe they'll win the World Series later on in the future. I don't see much of a discrepancy between Soto and Judge. As a matter of fact, I'll take Judge this year over Soto. I'll take Judge next year, potentially over Soto. In 3 years, Judge still is going to be right on par with Soto. I'm looking at the short term, and the short term for most of these teams says this: look, you need him, but does he give you a guarantee to the World Series? No, he doesn't guarantee anything. He'll give you a bigger boost to the World Series, but most of the teams we're talking about are in a pretty good position to win the World Series anyway. St. Louis, the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, Houston, they're already right there. There's no team that desperately needs him unless you're talking about down the line. And what I love is that people go, well, you can't talk about prospects because down the line, well, we're talking about Juan Soto down the line. Here's my stance. I would absolutely trade, and I would give up a slew of prospects for a talent like Juan Soto, who has proven his point that he can play at this stage, and he's 23 years old. I would do it. Prospects, not a problem. I would pay him $540 million. Not a problem. Okay, here you go. You're $40 million a year. I'll give him more than that. I'll give you $40 million a year for the next, 5-10 years. I'll do it. And I would give 15-year contract. I'll do it. But I'm not doing all three. And that's where I get into that position. I'm not paying this guy, $35 or $40 million for 15 years. That's damn. Look, I didn't like the Tatis signing. And look, he's been injured. You could tell me how great of a talent he is, but he's been injured consistently. Anything can happen in the next 10 years. I mean, it really can. If you could get Juan Soto on a 10-year deal, pay him. If you get Juan Soto on you want to give him a 5-year deal for $50 million a year? I don't even care. I mean, I would go crazy for that. I don't like the terms, the time, the money, and the prospects. That's the whole thing. What we're hearing is that this is going to be a Herschel Walker type of deal, a Kevin Durant kind of asking price, where you're going to have to give up at least your top 3 prospects, probably 4 or 5, plus sign them to $500+ million, plus a 15-year deal. Guys, it's just asking a lot for a player who is very, very good. Very, very good. But we've seen what happens to a very good player if you deplete the rest of the team. Go talk to Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. So I'm in the camp where, I hate to say it, but I don't want the Yankees to get Juan Soto because I know what the asking price is going to be. And I'm wondering, guys, are you willing to pay that? I'm not a prospect hugger at all, okay? And I understand the prospects, but it's the money, it's the length, and the prospects, all of them. Remember, this will pay him until his 38th year. You're 38. There's a lot can happen to a 23-year-old between now and age 38. A lot of problems that could go wrong. I hate the 15 years. I don't mind the money. If it was front-loaded, I'm okay with that. And I don't like giving up all those prospects and having to sign him to this kind of legendary, and that's what it would be, a legendary contract. Tell me about your favorite team. You guys, Dodger fans, Cardinals fans, Mets fans, whatever. I'm sure you want Juan Soto, but are you willing to invest all of that to go get Juan Soto? Let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you like this. Guys, I'm Tom Barton from TomBartonSports.com. Go check me out, Tom Barton Sports, over on Twitter, TomBartonSports.com, and TomBartonSports@gmail.com. Have a very good day, everybody.